Because, dear Lord, you are not on a serious news channel right now. You're on my ranty opinion channel. So, of course, we're going to do another Ocasio-Cortez video. And don't forget, I often devolve into anti-Trump rants when these things happen. But I got to do it. I got to do it because I tweeted about this. For those that haven't been, aren't following on Twitter, Ocasio-Cortez accused a Democrat of being creepy. And I think, I'm going to say it, I think Cortez is a little bit racist, okay? I'm just gonna put it out there, right? So first, let me explain what happened. You have this tweet where Yarmouth, the Representative Yarmouth, is standing next to a picture of Ocasio-Cortez, likely in support of her. Cortez says, "Nobody, blank. GOP, let's pose our older male members next to cardboard cutouts of young female legislators." Now, why would she assume that this old white man was a Republican? Perhaps it's because she has a preconceived perception of what an old white man is, failing to realize he's likely in support of her. That's why he's doing it. It's kind of sad, actually. So, this is really a dumb story. So by all means, if you think it's stupid, get out of here now, because this is going to be silly, dumb gossip. In a tweet on Thursday, Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez accused a fellow Democrat of being creepy in a picture posted by the Republican Party of Kentucky. And they were criticizing her. The Kentucky GOP posted a picture of a male lawmaker next to a cardboard cutout of Ocasio-Cortez. The Democratic Socialist tweeted a meme about the GOP's tweet, which I just read. The lawmaker in question, however, is not a Republican, but a Democrat. The man in the picture is Rep. John Yarmouth, Democrat from Kentucky, who is the chairman of the House Budget Committee. The freshman Democrat was quickly called out by people on Twitter. Nate Madden said, "That's John Yarmouth. He's your own party's budget chair." Sean Davis said, "The old white guy in that picture isn't a Republican. He's John Yarmouth, one of your Democrat congressional colleagues." Leslie Clark said, "That's actually the Kentucky delegation's sole Democrat, who was at the Democratic gubernatorial primary debate last night." Here's the thing. Oh, who said that? That was Leslie Clark. So I'll pull up some of these tweets because there's a bunch of funny responses. But it does conclude by saying she did, in fact, delete the tweet rather quickly. However, unfortunately for Cortez, the internet is forever. There's a few reasons why I wanted to talk about this. For one, I tweeted about it, so I'll pull up some of the responses that I got. Jack Murphy brought up an interesting point. They all look the same, though, am I right? And I gotta agree. I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saw that there was an old white guy standing next to her photo, and she assumes it's a Republican. And that's kind of sad, right? I'm not saying this to go after the Democrats, to insult Cortez, but think about the perspective she has to have that she sees a fellow American, in fact, someone who is supporting her, and she assumes the absolute worst about it. That kind of breaks my heart. I see old dudes as politicians, and I'm like, okay, but what do they think, right? What are they planning? Are they good people? Are they bad people? And I think this just shows that the identitarian groups that are kind of moving into politics, they're racist. They will judge you based on your race. Now, of course, it was because the Republican Party of Kentucky tweeted out the photo. I don't have this tweet because it's an image. But they said, Throwback Thursday, last month, the socialists threatened the lone Kentucky Democrat in Congress if he hadn't bent to their radical extremist. They quite literally said the lone Kentucky Democrat in Congress had to bend to an extremist. Looks like AOC and socialism are calling the shots. She didn't read this? So hold on, man. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they said, they asked me what I would say to somebody who looks at my YouTube channel and says you're conservative. And apparently somebody did this recently, I'm not going to name them. They took a screenshot of this channel's page, and I'm like, first of all, I don't care. Really don't care. Subject matter does not determine political alignment. Simply because I'm talking about an issue or critical of a Democrat does not make me a conservative. More importantly, I've got a video talking about student loan forgiveness. I've got a video where I just literally a half an hour of me supporting Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, and I've brought that up time and time again. Anybody who clearly watches my videos knows where I stand. But more importantly, if you think criticizing Cortez makes you conservative, then certainly Nancy Pelosi must be a conservative, right? No, it's absurd. The point is, she dragged a Democrat. She has no idea what she's talking about. She is a gaffe queen, gaffe after gaffe. She's Lady Trump, I'll say it. The redheaded libertarian said, "That's not a Republican, that's Rep. Yarmouth. Wasn't the text accompanying the picture a giveaway that he's a Democrat? She doesn't read." Someone said, "Cannot make this S up." The redheaded libertarian official for the win. I can't believe that people think a woman that was unemployable for the degree she had until she was 30 is a genius. AOC victim card denied. So I'll make a point here. Outside of just AOC, like, here's what I tweeted. I said she just dragged the GOP for having an older male standing next to a cardboard cutout of her. In reality, it was Democrat Yarmouth who was likely standing next to the cutout in support of AOC. She deleted the tweet, but it's kind of sad she assumed he was a Republican. Yes, just because the dude's white doesn't mean he's a Republican. Just because he's old doesn't mean he's a Republican. And come on, man. Can you read? Seriously? But I want to make a point about populism. A lot of people don't really... I don't think most people have a clear definition of what it means. But the definition is that you support the people over the elites. That you're allowing... That doesn't mean you're a smart person. So AOC is like a left-wing populist. So is Bernie. And Trump is a populist as well. It's weird how the media tries to frame that as a bad thing. Don't you want your politicians to support the working people? But there is a good criticism that shows not all populists are the right choice. This is the whole issue of AOC and the silly tweet. She deleted it, but it's a good point to segue into this idea of why it's actually dangerous in some capacities. I'm not saying you shouldn't allow populists to become elected officials. No, I just like to highlight, we clearly see from the frequent mistakes and gaffes she makes, where she thinks discounts, long-standing, pre-existing tax cuts are spendable cash. She thinks accounting errors are cash. She accuses Democrats of being Republicans. I'm sorry, man. If you don't even know who the other politicians are, like, we're in trouble in terms of you leading anyone, representing anybody. If NY14 wants her to be the person, well, they chose it, okay? And that's their right. That's America. But I'd like to point out the danger of taking on a bartender who was, as they say, unemployable for the degree she had until she was 30, put her in this position, give her millions of followers, and then expect her to know what she's doing. I think there will come a time where Cortez starts to actually figure things out. I don't think she's, like, mentally deficient. I think she's just completely inexperienced. People, in my opinion, who haven't run a business, who haven't lived on their own, they're more likely to be socialist or far left-leaning. And that's why young people tend to be. When you start a business, you really understand the tax system. You really understand, and you go, whoa. Unfortunately, not everybody owns a business. Most people work for someone else. So when someone like Cortez or Bernie Sanders goes to the average person and says, how would you like more money? If your boss won't give you a raise, I will. And most people are going to be like, that sounds great. I'd love to get more money, because they don't really understand the true economic complications of dramatic increases in a minimum wage, for instance. When you take someone like Cortez with no experience, it's a great sob story. I don't mean sob story, but it's like a heartwarming story to hear about, she was a working girl at a bar and she ran and she did it. And that proves America is great. And I will say this. I actually agree with that. I do. I think the fact that she was able to knock out, this 10-term incumbent or whatever, Crowley, says great, great things about America. But not everything is perfect. We can see over and over again that Cortez does ridiculous things that just make her look really, really bad. And the left overlooks them. Plain and simple. So, whatever. I'm going to criticize Cortez. Says to me she's a little bit racist. Now, look, there's degrees, it's nuanced. But if you're going to make an assumption about someone and based on the color of their skin, not the content of their character or their gender, well, then you're an ist of some sort. Fine. Cortez is allowed to be. But when we see these mistakes, we see these policy failures, we see the Amazon deal, I think it's fair to point out that not every populist can accurately represent their district appropriately. You may like Donald Trump, you may not like him, right? He's a populist. He's trying to, appeal to the masses and get everyone to like him and all that stuff. But Trump did have a ton of experience, at least in business and international relations. I don't necessarily think he's the greatest president we've ever had. I actually don't like him for his character. See, I told you it was going to happen. But when you look at AOC, she's a sign of, it's not necessarily just the idea of populism. It's one of the negative aspects is that you take someone with no experience, who has no idea what they're talking about, you put him in this position, and then what does she do? All these gaffes, right? Remember that interview she did where she called Palestine the occupation of Palestine? And when pressed on it, she said, I don't know, I'm not an expert. Well, then why did you believe that? It's particularly dangerous to have someone who doesn't know why they have the opinions they have. They just heard it from someone else, then they ran for office, and just repeat it. What we need are people who can sit down and think about the issues and come up with sound policy. So as always, you guys know that I'm a big, I'm an ever increasing, I'm increasingly more and more a fan of Andrew Yang, because I think he does that. I think he reaches across the aisle. I think he thinks about these issues, and he's not a gaffe queen like AOC is to even accuse a Democrat of being a Republican. But I will add one final thing before signing off this video. AOC is involved in a battle with the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi, as I mentioned earlier, criticizes her all the time. Pelosi is not a conservative. I'm not a fan of the corporate centrists. I would probably align more so with the anti-war progressives. But the problem I have with, like, The Intercept and the anti-war progressives is that they're more willing to align themselves with people like AOC, who is more of an identitarian leftist. All that really matters at the end of all of this is that the left is in a civil war. And I should be evidence of that, as, you know, and people like Dave Rubin and other heterodox individuals who once were on the left and are now being pushed out. It shows that they can call me whatever they want, I can call them whatever they want, but really the left is just falling apart. When you see the rising leadership in the Democratic Party being someone who just doesn't know what she's talking about, that should be a really good example of how bad things are getting. I'm not saying that to be a direct, like, mockery or disparagement of Cortez. I am pointing out the absolute fact that, you know, at a certain point, with all the mistakes she's made, things she doesn't understand, just, you know, excuses and lies, she's really, really bad at this, okay? With the Amazon deal, she headlined a protest in the financial district to shut down the Amazon deal. When it happened, she claimed she had nothing to do with it. Well, New Yorkers are upset about it. She thought an accounting error was cash. She thought a tax break was cash. She repeatedly does things that shows she really just doesn't know what's going on. She has a few viral moments, and that's all the left seems to focus on. But with this, we get to see it once again. I'll leave it there. Long story short, just because someone believes in fighting for the people doesn't mean they're smart enough to actually do it. And Cortez has proven I do not think she is fit for office. It doesn't mean she won't be in the future, but I feel like she was thrust into this because other people backing her were looking for that, you know, candidate who can win. Whatever. I got a couple more videos coming up in a few minutes. I will see you then.